What's happening, guys? Happy Tuesday. Welcome, welcome. Special thank you to the OBR Streaming Network and OBR.com for hosting us. And this is Pete and Joe breaking down the ever-continuing coaching search. My name is Joe Mazzullo. This is my man, Pete Smith. Oh, Pete. How are you doing, buddy? 7 out of 10 of these jobs have been filled. We are one of 3. I think the best of those 3, but we don't have the number 1 pick. How do you feel about that?
This is basically what I thought was going to happen. So, I mean, like, the part of this is funny to me is people have not paid attention to how coaching searches have gone since the Browns did the last one. They take forever anymore, like, comparatively. And if the Rams had won the NFC Championship, we'd be in this for 2 more weeks. Yep. So, like, it's whatever. I'm not that worried about it. I'd like to know, just for the sake of people keep asking, but other than that, it's whatever.
So I'm gonna say this. I like Jim Schwartz. I like the idea of Todd Monken. Okay. Anthony Lynn, I feel like that was kind of a Telesco favor type of whatever. I'm not really giving too much thought to that. Nate Scheelhaase is the one guy that I think can put some positive energy into this team going into the offseason. And look, I like Jim Schwartz, and I think Jim Schwartz can be a fine NFL head coach. I don't know if Jim Schwartz is the guy to escort your offense from 32nd in the league to better, and I don't know what kind of offensive coordinator he's going to come in or bring in. I don't know if that's going to be Monken. I don't know. I know that I'm certainly not writing anything off. But man, I'll be very unenthused if it's Jim Schwartz or Todd Monken. That's just where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I think the Jim Schwartz angle, so much of it is who's the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I think and I don't know who this would be, if it's Anthony Lynn or if it's somebody else, we're like, Jim Schwartz has somebody in their back pocket, they're going to be like, oh, okay. I don't think that's likely.
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem with that isn't just the offensive coordinator. It's the fear that the Browns offense isn't very good. And if you're not giving them the head coaching job, who's going to want to be the offensive coordinator of this group?
Yeah.
So those are all reasonable concerns. I think the history for guys like being promoted like Jim Schwartz is not good. Mike Martz took over a team that won the Super Bowl. He was fine, but he took over a team that won the Super Bowl. They didn't go, that was it. Bill Callahan took over a team that traded their coach and then lost to him in the Super Bowl. And then they sort of went to crap. But by and large, those guys basically are the same or worse. So you would have to buck significant history on that and to get better with this. The other problem with that is, like, if coaching was your issue last year, how does coaching fix it? Like, how do the same guys fix it? And Granted, I think the fact of the matter is, if it makes a little bit more sense if Jim Schwartz is bringing in new people on offense, then you can sort of try to squint and be like, okay, it's a little bit different. But, like, I don't think that's going to fix the problem, which is another issue. I don't know if Nate Scheelhaase is the answer. I have no idea. But my attitude is, if you're going to move on from Kevin Stefanski, which I obviously said don't do that, then I think you pan for gold and you hope for the best and you keep swinging until you hit that. Because if you can do that, you're going to be okay with it. Like, if you accidentally stumble on Nathaniel Hackett and you move on after a year, so long as you find the next guy, you're probably not going to care all that much. I don't know how much Nathaniel Hackett comes up for Broncos fans as they're currently, sitting in the situation they are now with Sean Payton. But, like, that isn't, I don't think that's a huge issue for them. I think they're basically like, yeah, the Hackett thing didn't work. We moved on. We got Sean Payton, and now we're in a great spot. So I'd rather go for the big swing at head coach and try to get lucky with that and continue to keep swinging until you hit it, alongside, hopefully doing smart things with the roster, drafting well, making smart decisions with free agency and stuff, so that if you do make a mistake at head coach, that you're not like punished for it. You don't make a massive investment somewhere that you're going to be paying for years after the fact, and sort of be, stuck as the Browns were with Deshaun Watson, and that they continue to pay the price for that. So as long as they don't make that mistake, then I can sort of get by with the idea of keep swinging at it, keep hoping for the best, and try to find that guy. The problem, and the other part about that is, especially if you were to get that wrong in this hiring cycle and you do smart things, this job should look more attractive in 2027. Should, emphasis on should, because your offense should be in a better place than it was than 2026. They've got basically 3 starters on offense, and the rest they've got to figure out. So you would think it's a safe bet that they're going to have at least more than 3 starters after the 2026 season and into 2027, while still maintaining a pretty good defense that should make this job more attractive. But that's where I'm sort of at in terms of where we sort of sit with this thing and the possibilities. But, Todd Monken does nothing for me, and he might even be okay. I have no idea, but it doesn't do much for me. Anthony Lynn, I think, was more, we'll see. I don't want to say it's impossible, but it felt to me like Anthony Lynn was being interviewed more for a potential coordinator role than a head coach, or at least that possibility exists, because the Browns have done this in the past. They did it with Jim Schwartz, as an example. They interviewed him for head coach, hired him as coordinator, and Anthony Lynn is credible. He's been an offensive coordinator in multiple spots. You could see a scenario where he could pair with Nate Scheelhaase if they were to go that route and have a veteran presence on that side of the ball, somebody who's done it, somebody who can make sure that a young coach like Scheelhaase isn't going to, mess anything up or have oversights where he's not, missing things he shouldn't. I could also see a situation where Anthony Lynn is a veteran coordinator, because for Jim Schwartz, because I don't think Jim Schwartz is going to want to go super young on that side of the ball. Between both what Jimmy Haslam said in regards to why they fired Kevin Stefanski and the fact that Jim Schwartz in some ways will feel like an interim coach, I feel like he's going to want to get somebody more proven that can help him win football games right now, as opposed to necessarily, Dan Pitcher is an example, who somebody they could hire who has never been a play caller but is a young offensive coordinator who's intriguing. I think Jim Schwartz is probably more inclined to go with a guy who's done it, so he doesn't have to think about that aspect of it.
Well, I wish I would have heard that, Peter. My internet is the absolute worst, and I apologize as usual. Any surprises today with Joe Brady getting the nod in Buffalo?
I'm surprised because, I'm not surprised in the sense that they promoted a guy that has a relationship with Josh Allen. We've done this before. We've seen it. I'm surprised that they hired the guy that, I thought that the Bills would hire a head coach, and the fan base would be like, we hate Brandon Beane now. We're not super fond of the owner either. We've got the head coach's back. And they found the one guy they might hate more than both of them, and Joe Brady. The Bills have found the power regime that nobody in their fan base likes, which I think is a genuine challenge on doing. But they are pissed with the Joe Brady hiring. Absolutely infuriated.
A lot of Bills fans I know wanted Brian Daboll. We're all about it. And we're pissed when they let Daboll out the door a few years ago to go to New York, and then you're, hearing all the nonsense about they waited a year too long. They could have had Vrabel last year, yada, yada, yada. I don't know, man. I understand why they made the switch to a degree. It's a really tough sell for me to fire a good head coach when he loses a game because his quarterback played poorly, not because anything the coach did, but, I don't know. That's for another day. How about the Kevin Stefanski press conference today in Atlanta? Any highlights from that besides, he's a cool customer with the media, man. He can handle just about every snowball they throw at him. He throws right back.
Well, the thing he's mastered, and I have genuine admiration for him. He had all these big stories out there. They're all over. He quashed them all because he doesn't say anything. There's nothing like Baker Mayfield tries to make this huge story out of. He's like, yeah, he's a great player. I respect him a lot. Rivalries are fun. Nobody's talking about it. Like his ability to just put a sleeper hold on any of these things is genuinely impressive. Yeah. Tommy Rees being the play caller is interesting. Like,
I found that interesting too. Like, isn't that part of the draw for Stefanski? If you're Atlanta, don't you want him calling plays?
Maybe. I think when they hired Tommy Rees, there was an element of Tommy Rees is like, yeah, I'm coming here. And Kevin Stefanski's like, I really like him. I like the fact that he's recent from the college ranks. Mm-hmm. He can sort of help me innovate and all these other things and keep things fresh. But like at some point, he's going to be ready to be a play caller. And when he's ready to do it, I'm going to give it to him. And he did that with the Browns halfway through the season. And it doesn't surprise me at all that he's doing that with the Falcons and would have stayed that way had he had the two stay here. So that part didn't surprise me at all. And they've got what looks to be a really good staff. The biggest surprise, if you want to call it that, is everybody goes, well, of course he's going to hire Bubba Ventrone. And he didn't. He hired a different special teams coach. So they have what looks to be a really good coaching staff in a very winnable division with a really talented team. And they just look good. And, again, he just puts the sleeper hold on everything and just it's over. So now it's Kevin Stefanski's the head coach and off we go.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about it. I like Stefanski. I like the fit in Atlanta. They've got a ton of really nice talent. I love that he reunited with Callahan. What I found interesting, because I thought the same thing. I thought Bubba would go with them too. But I read, I think I read yesterday that Ventrone was pushed for by Haslam, and that was a Haslam hire. I did not know that. I hadn't heard that before.
Allegedly, that's reported, I guess, by Jared Mueller. I have no idea how true that is.
Yeah.
So maybe if that's the case, like for a whole lot of people,
that's going to change. Kevin didn't hire him in Atlanta that was the case, but either way, I
don't know. I have no idea if that part. I mean, if the only thing that's going to tell you really is if whether it's Jim Schwartz or Nate Shieldhouse or whoever, that all of a sudden Bubba Ventrone is still here and he has to be the special teams coach. That will tell you a lot.
Yeah.
And at that point would be really funny considering how many people wanted to run Kevin Stefanski out over Bubba Ventrone.
Yeah.
And then if you were to find out, nope, lo and behold, it was the owner that wanted Ventrone here the whole way. That would just be yet another sign of why you don't want your owner to be overly involved.
So I got to tell you, Pete, I think I mentioned this. I think I mentioned it last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. I have, a conspiracy theory that Stefanski forced his way out. And I to my bones, I believe it, dude. It just doesn't make sense with this search, especially if they feel so good about Schwartz and keeping Schwartz intact and everything like that. It doesn't make sense to me, man. It doesn't make sense. And Kevin seems happier than a pig. And you know what? To be in Atlanta and be in a fresh spot.
I don't think that's what happened. I think Kevin Stefanski would have been thrilled to stay here if they would have let him. Yeah, it's work and all these other things. Jimmy Haslam got bored or whatever, impatient, etc., and just decided I'm done with him. And that's why we're here. That's why we're dealing with all this stuff about, Jim Schwartz being such an integral part of the whole thing. He straight up said it. I mean, he didn't win enough with that roster. So no, I don't believe that for a second. Now, having said that, once Kevin Stefanski was out and, he's got to move on, then yeah, he's probably happy. But the fact of the matter is he's got kids that are still in school here, all, and then are, presumably will be here at least until the end of the school year. And then maybe they'll move, maybe they won't, in which case you're doing that whole thing. No, I think Kevin Stefanski would have been more than thrilled to stay here and get this thing figured out, because that's just my read on who he is.
Yeah.
But this is something I've heard quite a a lot of, and it's just basically because the team's bad, and he didn't have as much of a hand in that as some might believe in terms of like, yes, he was certainly involved in Deshaun Watson, but like some of the other decisions aren't necessarily his, and yet he's got to sort of bear the cost of it, particularly like Jim Schwartz has gotten seemingly every single thing he could possibly ask for, and Kevin Stefanski is coaching very little on that side of the ball. So yeah, I'm sure. Look, I'd be thrilled to be down there coaching Bijan Robinson. Not going to lie, that'd be pretty good. Drake London, all those guys. But no, I don't believe for a second that Kevin Stefanski's like wanted to get out of Cleveland. I think he wanted to make this thing work. He wanted to go where it was, and then he is the type of guy that once they made the decision, he's moving on. He is a next play mentality type guy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the search itself, because you've heard tons of stuff. And I feel like this is probably just like typical media, not knowing what they don't even know and just kind of making stuff up about the whole search and how we went about it and stuff like that. How much do you know, or how much do you believe about like the essays and the questionnaires and the personality tests and everything like that? Like, and do you think that was as big a deal as it was made out to be in the media?
I don't know what it looks like in terms of how it's operated, but yeah, the Browns have their own process and what that involves. And it's not a new one. They've done this since 2016 when Paul DePodesta arrived here. And here's the thing, like people are all mad about this. One, it's going to weed people out who aren't really interested. You have to be like genuinely want to be the head coach of this team. And two, the results are the first time they ran through it, it said hire Sean McDermott. And the second time they did it was Kevin Stefanski. Yeah. Sean McDermott was pretty damn good, and Kevin Stefanski was pretty damn good. So, like, the track record on doing this process has been really good in a process like in coaching hires where the hit rate is extraordinarily low. Like 20% of coaches are hits. So that's the other part. Like, I don't blame any franchise, whatever that looks like, to find a way to quantify some of these things and weed out the vibes element of, I get along with this guy, he seems great, I want to hire him, trying to find a way to get something to differentiate these candidates other than he came across really well in an interview, or somebody told me he was the right guy to hire. So because that's how this thing has been done for years and years and years, where like, and we've seen it. Pat Shurmur was hired because he was the nephew of somebody that like said he was good. And that's really common for this because owners, by and large, don't know how to do this stuff, which is why you have search firms and all this stuff get in the mix, and they aren't all that great at it either. So I am pro teams figuring out how to come with a process that can help them figure out how to get this search right. If that if somebody called you for a job and said, hey, we're going to let you run this thing and we're going to pay you upwards of like $10 million a year, are you really going to be that upset about writing an essay about it? Or
I'm not going to be happy about it, Pete.
And how many people like would happily write an essay on the Browns to get the job? Who are we kidding here? This is the part where you're like, this is insulting. It's like, are you kidding me? If somebody offered you your dream job and they said all you had to do was write an essay and take.
Yeah, but Pete, that's not fair though. That's not how this works. Okay. And like for me, and not necessarily like how this works, but for me, if I'm a coach and I have options, right? I don't need the Cleveland Browns making me jump through the extra hoops. And not just because we're the Browns, but because of the stars aligning with no quarterback, your quarterback room already spoken for financially and pretty much body-wise, no offensive line, a complete rebuild on the offensive side of the ball, ownership who just fired a coach with a better resume than you most likely, and because he failed to work with the horrible product that was put on the field, yet the GM is still in place. This is a tough sell for me. It's like we as Browns fans, we build the job up to be better than the reality of it. The reality of it is that there's 31 other fan bases that are like, oh man, the Browns, who's going to get the Browns job? And that's just the reality of it because of where we are in the NFL hierarchy. So for me, it looks pretty damn foolish when beggars are being choosers, at least on the surface. You know what I'm saying? Like, That's just like that's something that I'm sure it's a reasonable process. But the fact that it got out and the fact that it's the Browns and it's just that low-hanging fruit that people are jumping on, like that's a frustrating situation.
Here's the thing. Before they fired Kevin Stefanski, everybody is, oh, we're the Browns. We deserve to have a great coach. We should go through a really serious process and find the right guy. And then all of a sudden, when you don't have a coach and you say, oh, please come work for me. Oh, come on. I can't. Nobody wants to work for us. Like, this is the problem. I hate this crap because this is why I told you, don't.
I'm right there with you. You didn't tell me nothing, Pete. I was with you. I didn't want to go.
This is why I hate this stuff. It's like, oh, we've got two-time head coach of the year, but he sucks. We deserve to have a better coach. We're the Browns and blah, blah, blah. It's like, and the second they get out the door, and you're like, I cannot stand this because you cannot have it both ways. You either decide that you are a real franchise with real standards or that you are a poverty franchise and that you have to beg people. You cannot be both at the same time. You had a legitimate coach in the building, and people could not wait to get rid of him because the grass was so green on the other side. And I've run into this, doing this, for my coaching career is like, I've heard this from people in coaching offices. Oh, I'm underappreciated. I should be doing this, that, and the other thing. And the second they're outside, it's cold. It's real cold, and nobody appreciates you the way you thought you would. And all of a sudden you get more desperate and life sucks. Like, it's very easy to complain and talk shit about how great your situation should be when you know you have the comfort of a job, or in this case, a head coach. But this is what I warned people about. You and I warned people about. The OBR in general warned people about. Like, so don't then come back to me and go, well, we shouldn't have standards. We should be begging people to work here. No, you shouldn't. You should either. You knew this was going to be the process. You knew this was how it's going to work because they did it the last 2 times and it worked. So if this process, as it's laid out, leads you to Nate Shieldhouse, or it leads you to Jim Schwartz, it leads you to Todd Monken or whatever, okay, fine, do it. Now, my only concern with all of this is what happened the last times they've done this. Yeah. The last time they did, or the first time they did this, it said hire Sean McDermott, they hired Hugh Jackson. The second time they did this, it said hire Kevin Stefanski, they hired Freddie Kitchens. Well, who's the guy doing that? The same guy who threw out the 2-time head coach of the year. Like,
the only guy we can't fire, Pete.
Right. So, like, this is where people just absolutely lose me with this poverty crap where they're like, oh, please, we're more friends and nobody wants to. Like, stop it. We told you ahead of time. I said straight up, cross off the first 6 names you want because that's where this always ends up. This is where you got Mike Pettin. This is where you got, Rob Chudzinski and all these other guys. Welcome to it. The benefit you had is at least the times you've done this, it has genuinely produced really good coaches. So I would lean into that process and say, okay, yeah, if they don't want to, normally what we get here with this type of stuff is, we'll get that Midwestern toughness. We're like, oh, if they don't want to be here, I don't want them to be here. And then, 5 minutes later, why don't they want to play for us? That type of crap. But it's the same thing. Like, you cannot do this and have this both ways. And I've seen people doing this who said, people in media, people who cover this team and all this, mostly, not really people who cover the beat because most of them were realistic with this, but people piping up on radio shows, oh, fire Kevin Stefanski. And then the second they do that, complaining about the process and having people like trying to talk up how great this job was. And then when it doesn't go well, we tried to sell a crappy job, but you wanted them to fire the guy in the first place. Like, it's rabidly inconsistent. I can't stand watching that and then trying to play it off like it's the organization's fault. Like, yeah, but you were right there with them. You were trying to get them to do this.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And my whole thing isn't the process they're going out about hiring a coach. It's just the media perception and the national perception that it's us. It's us that it gets leaked that we're doing it.
If you found out that, like, the Baltimore Ravens did the essay and all this other, the personality test,
of course,
everybody would be going, why aren't we doing that?
Because but we're low-hanging fruit.
Yes,
so it comes out that we do it. And they're like, ha, typical Cleveland,
Yeah,
look,
I mean that's
the frustrating part. And hold on, I gotta address the chat because Chris asked me a question and it's a little bit higher up. I don't want to scroll, but to answer your question, Chris, I had very little insight of any NFL team's process. I was merely complaining about our process getting leaked to a small degree, and the fact that we're the Browns, people like to jump on and pile on and, make fun. I don't have an issue with the process. Pete's right. It's a multi-million-dollar position. You're the face of a billion-dollar corporation. Like, yeah, you should jump through hoops to do it. But the perception is that like we're the only ones doing that. We do things a different way in Cleveland, as Tom Pelissaro put it. And it's just like that's such a disingenuous twist to it that I hate so much.
Listen, my immediate reaction when I saw Rich Eisen poke fun at this is maybe Michigan should try it because they have a real problem with hiring head coaches. Maybe they should look into taking a little bit more delicate process and making somebody actually go through some hoops. And I don't know, mix in a background check before you hire these guys, because this is what you end up with. Like, say what you will about the Browns. They don't have the issues that these guys are having. And again, they're not going to get credit for this. But the national media is not going to pay attention. They're going to say, oh, LOL Browns. Fine. I don't care. Like, I can deal with that. But like, you don't pay attention to the fact that it said Sean McDermott was the guy. It doesn't pay attention to the fact that it said Kevin Stefanski was the guy. And what annoys me to this whole process, if Kevin Stefanski was the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals for the last 6 years as opposed to the Browns, and he got out onto the open market,
he'd be number one on everyone's list, and it's not even close.
101, people would have been desperate for the Browns to hire him, and 2, he wouldn't have considered them. This is the problem. You run into this. People are unrealistic with this whole thing. So, we'll see what happens. But like the other part with this, everybody's panicking that the process is falling apart and all these other things. It's possible. I'm not there yet though, because if they do come back with Nate Shieldhouse, which by all accounts they were in on very early, then they can easily turn around and go, yeah, this is what we wanted to do. This is who we got. And everybody will go, well, why did all these other people pull out? And this is the other thing people do not pay attention to. There's always stuff like this happens in every job search for these head coaching jobs, that guys drop out because they don't think they're going to get the job or whatever.
Yeah.
No one remembers 5 minutes after they happen. But like when, again, it's LOL Browns, even though like some of these other assistants withdrew from other jobs, including the Buffalo Bills. And, some of these other jobs where like Mike McDaniel bagged it on everybody.
Yeah.
But that's the other part about this. Like if let's use Grant Udinski as an example. If Grant Udinski ultimately just went into this thing going, look, man, I just want to get a little bit more out of the Jags in terms of money and responsibility. I want to be able to call plays, and I want to feel out the process and get a sense of it and all this stuff. But if they give me a little bit more, I'm going back. And just leverage the position, great. Or he could have just decided, listen, man, I'm 30 years old. I'm not ready for this.
Yeah. Well, look, and you've brought it up multiple times. You are lucky to get a shot at a head coaching job. If you've leveraged it to where you're a sought-out candidate, great. But for the most part, you only get one real crack at this. You got to hope that you do a good job or get lucky to get another yada, yada, yada. It's not always the best choice to take a job on a losing team with no quarterback. And that's the problem with the Browns coaching search, is that our coaching search, when we started, it was very ambitious. We had John Harbaugh. Some of us had Mark McCarthy. We had Mike McDaniel. We had all these guys and all these names. But the reality is the Browns were probably choosing from a different pool of coaches because those were who would come to Cleveland. There's a class of coaches that were in this search that were never even going to pick up the phone for us. And that's just the reality of it. We don't have a quarterback and we don't have an offensive line. And this is a project. If we have a really great offseason, I truly believe that there's enough talent on this team that you can make noise for a wild card push. You could, if we have a great offseason. But man, if you're looking for your one shot, if you're Grant Udinski or if you're Nate Shieldhouse, and this is his one shot, I mean, do you take Cleveland? Do you take Deshaun and Shador and say, yeah, I can leverage this into the rest of my career? Or do you say, you know what, I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna stay on my playoff team, I'm gonna get a promotion and a pay raise because of it, and next year I'm gonna look at a whole new pool of candidates, one of which might be Cleveland again, just a better situation.
Right, and that's the thing, is that was one of the arguments I kept hearing over and over. Well, there's only 32 jobs. Well, look, a lot of people are perfectly content to wait. And we've seen it. This has happened before. Ben Johnson did this for a couple of years. Guys are being choosier with when they want to take the plunge. So
that, Pete, there were 10 job openings available this year. There could be another 10 next year. You never know.
And as far as the process goes, like the bottom line is Jimmy Haslam basically pushed Andrew Berry and people right out of the plane without a parachute and said, fix it. So like he's got to spring into action and pull something together, which I never had a doubt he would come up with a professional way of doing this. The question is, what is he selling? And two, can the owner,
get on board?
Yeah. Can he buy it? And the question I don't know the answer to is how much of this was truly an open dialogue in terms of candidates versus was Andrew Berry effectively lining up guys against Jim Schwartz? If Jim Schwartz was always sort of the perceived, not just because he was here, but because Jimmy Haslam was really pushing the idea of hiring Jim Schwartz as a full-time head coach. How much of this was Andrew Berry's like, I'm just trying to find guys to throw at him to see if he'll change his mind. And that may have been a factor in guys pulling out of the job as well, that basically they looked at this thing and said, man, they just really want Jim Schwartz to be the guy. And I don't know the answer to that. I would like to hope it was more open-minded than that. But the only people who really know at this point are in that building and probably aren't talking about it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's going to be interesting in the aftermath of all this stuff. And as the offseason unfolds is just, I mean, who is leading this search? I mean, obviously the buck stops with Jimmy, whatever he says goes. And that's the bottom line, really. But in his words, Andrew's leading the search. I'd be very curious to know who's truly leading the search and how much of it is Jimmy or Andrew or both of them or just one of them forcing Jim Schwartz on these candidates. I mean, that's another thing too. If you're a first-time head coach, you want your people around you. And I got to tell you, I think Udinski and Schwartz are both very intriguing guys. I got to tell you, coming in as a first-time head coach, I don't know if I would want Jim Schwartz in that locker room with me, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, and not necessarily like one way or the other, but I mean, that's a tough locker room to win over when you're going in. You got a 62-year-old veteran and you're a first-time head coach. Like that's an interesting position to put a kid in.
Yeah, I mean, there's positives and negatives to the whole idea of Jim Schwartz being in the building because, on the one hand, you can go, the defensive side of the ball is taken care of. I know what it's going to be. I know what the defense is. I don't have to worry about that. All I've got to worry about is one side of the ball. And by virtue of that, if I can make this improved, if I can make this average, this team should be much better. But yeah, I mean, there's a certain element of, well, I really want control of the team. I want to be able to do what I want to do. I've got somebody I want to bring in, whatever. I'm inclined to think the Jim Schwartz option is more palatable, especially for a young head coach, because it's just one less thing you have to do. But, there's a difference between asking if you want to do that and being told this is how it's going to go that may set you back and go, well, if it's up to me, I keep Jim Schwartz, but I don't like the idea that they are telling he is telling me that I have to take this guy because this may be only the first time that this happens where I'm told this is how it has to go. And that may give me pause on the whole situation. So these are the things we don't know as far as that part goes. But again, if they come out with Schwartz and they say, this is the guy we wanted, this is the reason we go through the process and all this, it would be great. Part of the problem with these coaching processes, and one of the reasons for the Rooney Rule, is because it's been so nepotistic. And one of the elements, the nepotism that sort of bleeds through, is minority coaches just don't get recommended like that because it's always somebody's buddy, somebody's kid, somebody's nephew, a kid of a friend. And it just continues to keep those same people in the cycle where, and nothing against Chris Shula, but his entire family has been coaching for like 70 years.
Yeah.
He's got a natural advantage, whereas Schwartz doesn't have a dad who got him a job. He is a self-starter. He's a guy who's earned his way. And some of those guys don't get their due. And say what you will, like, as we sit here today, One minority coach has been hired so far. Everybody else is a white dude. And you can sit there and go, well, nobody's going to argue with John Harbaugh. Nobody's going to argue with Kevin Stefanski. I agree with you. Nevertheless, and I'm not here to impugn the Steelers on this because their history is solid on it, or anyone else really. But you just look at it and you go, okay, 7 jobs have been hired. One minority has been hired. So like they aren't, for whatever reason, the results just simply aren't there. So that's the other part about this. If this process also helped them get to a Nate Shieldhouse or somebody else along those lines, great. Like then it's working because this once again, you go back to like whether it was really Tony Dungy, who I loathe personally, but nevertheless being hired as the Bucs head coach and then basically just taking all the undersold African-American coaches and getting a very, very good staff.
Yeah.
Like you may find yourself in a situation where this is once again happening. And a guy like Nate Shieldhouse, yes, I understand he's inexperienced and all these other things. And there's a lot of I don't knows with this, but you have the potential to find an underplayed market where there's real value in hiring a guy like that because he's just been overlooked or not taken seriously.
Let me ask you, we had somebody bring it up in the chat, and I think it's a good question to ask. Jim Schwartz going to head coach. How important is the defensive coordinator hire? And do you think that alters, with him not being totally focused on the defense, do you think that could possibly be a step back for the defense or an issue for the defense? Like, is it smart to weaken the position of strength, so to speak?
Well, it's a fair question because he's essentially been allowed to be head coach of defense, where that was his only concern. That was all he did. So I'd be slightly concerned. I'm not worried about the DC hire. I suspect he'd just promote Ephraim Banda, who's gotten interviews for that job, that defensive coordinator with other teams anyway. But the question really comes down to, and obviously Jim Schwartz would hopefully have elucidated this in meetings, is what is his head coaching job look like? What does he want to do? Is he a guy who's sitting there going, man, I really want to get involved on the offensive side of the ball? Or is he like, I want to essentially do what I had. I want to give somebody head coach of the offense and just basically live in my own little world. I suspect he wants a little bit more control than that. I suspect he wants to be a little bit more involved than Kevin Stefanski was, perhaps. But I also think he wants to hire somebody as offensive coordinator, for example, who he doesn't have to babysit, that he doesn't have to sort of bring up. I could be wrong on that, but that's just my sense of him, that he's going to want a proven professional that sort of allows him to be able to check in, but doesn't need him to sort of be there constantly, and he can really still be where he wants to be, which is predominantly on the defensive side of the ball.
Do you think the Todd Monken stuff is legit? Like, do you think they're like genuinely considering making him head coach and pairing him with Schwartz?
I mean, the fact of the matter is he's done all the stuff.
Yeah.
So it leaves me to believe that, he's got to at least have some shot.
Yeah.
Because if not, then you're wasting a whole lot of time and, sticking it to the Giants in some respects, since the expectation is he will just walk into that offensive coordinator job.
Right. And I've heard it argued that, Schwartz will be head coach and they'll hire Monken as offensive coordinator. I don't see that personally.
No.
But crazier things have happened, but I would feel like he would take the Giants job over the Cleveland job if it's being offered. We don't know that it's even being offered. It's just kind of an assumption, right?
I think it's no different than like Mike McDaniel taking the Chargers job and then going to look for Brian Daboll
with Tennessee and still interviewing with the Raiders.
Yeah,
Who's Arizona going to hire? I've heard Mike LaFleur, right? And
that's part of the what's sort of been a sticky wicket for the Browns is like there is an element to this whole thing where the Rams and specifically Sean McVay is getting very nervous that all of a sudden he's going to lose all of his coaches.
Yeah.
And not only his coaches, but just on one side of the ball, that he could potentially end up losing Mike LaFleur, who they think is going to take that Arizona job, and then potentially Shieldhouse, who would then take this job. So he is trying to play some defense to this because he wants to basically try to get Shieldhouse to stay there and be the coordinator if LaFleur's going to leave. But you got to remember, it goes deeper than that. Because what usually happens in these type of situations, When one guy like a LaFleur takes a job to Arizona, he usually has sticky fingers and takes a couple assistants with him, and you just sort of get plucked out, which is what happened to Detroit, where they just lost a ton of assistants. And maybe Shieldhouse has sticky fingers too. I mean, Mary Kate Cabot floated, and I know why she floated it, purely for the fact that he went to St. Ignatius, but Dave Ragone, quarterback's coach, I'm saying we should be an offensive coordinator, or could be. You know, I have no idea if he could be a great offensive coordinator or not. The only thing I remember about Dave Ragone is a certain rainy game on Thursday night where Louisville beat Florida State. That's about all I've got. So, like, I mean, it's cool that he's a quarterback's coach, and obviously that's a thing that the Browns need to get right. But, like, that's the extent of the bona fides for these guys. But nevertheless, that's a thing that tends to happen, is guys pluck away coaches. Even when Drew Petzing left the Browns to become the Arizona Cardinals offensive coordinator, he took Israel Woolfolk who was the assistant quarterback coach, and made him his quarterback's coach. So, like, there's just a tendency for these coaches to leave and bring stuff with them.
Oh,
and all of a sudden the Rams are sitting there going, well, we thought we were going to be back in the Super Bowl. We've got 2 first-round picks, and now I got to replace like half the staff. That's a scary thought for them.
Well, another thing about the Rams too is, I mean, realistically, there's no guarantee that Matthew Stafford is going to come back. And that's another big part of that job. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I hope he keeps playing. He's phenomenal. You know, if he's not the MVP this year, he's going to be the runner-up, right? But that's a bad back, man. And he's got a lot of money, and he's got a ring. You remember he didn't practice the entire training camp and preseason?
Oh, I thought he was going to retire. I thought it was over.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're scoffing at it. Like, the dude's like, he's on his last legs. Like, he's fine.
The thing is, like, these guys never know when to quit.
Yeah.
And John Elway's the one, and like everybody else came back. Keep coming back, and they keep coming back. He was that close. They'll sit there and talk themselves into, even though the NFC West is tough, when you're that close, I guarantee they're going to come back. And then here's the problem: the Rams have no backup plan, so they may have to do it at gunpoint, but they will do it. You are playing. Yeah. They will go to his house, guys, whatever, get out. You're playing quarterback this year, because I don't think they have another option. Like, they have not done anything in terms of future-proofing that position, or that, you know, and the Rams have a tendency to figure these things out, but nevertheless, like, they need Matt Stafford badly. So, so I don't think it's going to happen, but yeah, I mean, you never know with what's going to be the last one, or if he's going to wake up one day and just be like, nope, my back can't do it. But like, I think he's going to play at least one more year. He's going to look at all those things around him, and they'll rally up again and do it.
Mike McCarthy had his presser today in Pittsburgh. He teared up because he was just so taken aback to, you know, be the head coach of his favorite team and yada, yada, yada. Like, I know how you feel about McCarthy, right? I like McCarthy. I think he's a good coach. I hate this hire. I genuinely hate this hire. I'm really annoyed by it, especially because, like, his gets us factor with Steeler fans is like off the charts.
He screwed it up. He screwed it up. All the Yinzers wanted to hear one thing. They all wanted to talk up Will Howard, because that would give them a sense that they're moving on.
He's bringing back A-Rod, baby.
Yes. Run it back. Bring it back. Let's go there, Aaron Rodgers. Let's do it again. Now, the other thing that stood out to me about the press conference, tell me he doesn't look like he's about to go on the road and sell some auto parts.
Okay, first of all, yes, he's got some Tommy Callahan to him. Okay, I was thinking Matt Foley. He's got a little Matt Foley to him as well. I'm right there with it.
He looks like he should be on the paintings on the back wall of that movie. He's one of the people who sold.
Look, I'm sorry. I'm not excited about this, Pete. And I do not like Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's good. The McCarthy-Rodgers thing pisses me off, because this is the type of weird thing that happens to a team like Pittsburgh and for some reason works. I hope it doesn't. It shouldn't. It absolutely should not. But I like Mike McCarthy. I like his offense. And if he has a quarterback who knows what he's doing, they can be an issue. I hate it, dude. I don't like it.
There are a whole lot of Steelers fans who want to get real bad this year. They want to be able to draft a quarterback. Yeah. And all the messaging is just like, nope, not going to do it. Look, man, 10-7 is right there. We can squeak our way in the playoffs and get drilled one more time.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot wait for year 19 of Mike McCarthy with the Steelers. I love the fact he signed a 5-year deal. I hope he gets many more 5-year deals. Like,
yeah.
And it's not like he's not a bad coach. I'm not going to tell you that, but he's not Mike Tomlin. He's not Mike Tomlin. And I get it from the standpoint of you're trying to make the argument, Mike McCarthy, we believe he can fix an offense and we've got a good defense and all these other things. That's fine. But he's not Tomlin. And they are, I will happily be proven wrong. Well, not happily, because it would mean bad things for the Steelers being good for a while. I think they're living a lie. I think they have to embrace what is coming. They are the element of being an inherited franchise is killing them in terms of their ability to, basically stay competitive. They share a facility with Pitt. Yeah. They don't own their own stadium. The county has so much control over this, and they're just insisting on trying to do it. And I get it. Like they said right from the word go, they were not interested in tearing it down and rebuilding. They're going to play TJ Watt until they have to send him to the taxidermist and just stuff him and put him out there. But I just don't think this is going to work. To the extent of, I think they can continue to be what they've been. I'm not going to say they're going to be bad.
Yeah.
I could see them. I could see them if Aaron Rodgers is willing to work with Mike McCarthy, which is its own question. They did not leave on great terms.
Of course.
But if they were to go, this is my assumption of what will happen because just how these things work. They'll draft Casey Concepcion at 21, suddenly have another receiver and have more viability along with DK Metcalf, and just all of a sudden they're reasonably good. Yeah. So like I said, I think they can. There's a path for them to continue to do the 10-7, get crushed in the playoff thing. I just don't see a whole lot of upside. Now, my hope is that even if they run it back with Aaron Rodgers, which I absolutely love, I hope they go and take Ty Simpson at 21. That would be great. Or even better. Don't take him. Wait around. Take Carson back. I want to see the Carson Beck, Will Howard quarterback competition. Let's go. Let's see which quarterback can break a pane of glass from 50 yards, or even can get it 50 yards. But it just again, my overall takeaway from it is, I think Mike McCarthy's fine, but fine's not going to get it done. Fine's not enough. And I do think the Steelers in some ways are living a lie, and I don't think people are satisfied with it. And I think they're going to be pissed about where this thing goes because it's going to be more of the same. And for whatever reason, I would love to hear the vision for how they think they're going to go over the top. And maybe they're just going to rip off my idea. Take Concepcion, load up on offense, and do all these other things and feel like that's enough. But they have nothing at quarterback right now. And if they can get Aaron Rodgers, okay. But if Aaron Rodgers goes down, which real possibility at any point now, then what? So it's just, I'm not going to tell you that Mike McCarthy's a bad coach. He's not a bad coach. That'd be stupid to say that. I just don't think it's enough. And he's on his third tenure. And maybe this really means a whole lot to him and all this other stuff. And weepy eyes, which I know a few fans have to go over well. But nevertheless, he's not a bad coach. I'm not going to claim that. I just don't think. I will be very curious to watch, because this is the experiment we're going to get. How much did Mike Tomlin really mean? Because if they fall apart without him, that will tell you a lot. Now, if they're reasonably good, if they're basically the same thing they've been, it will be okay, yeah, Mike Tomlin was a very good coach.
Yeah.
But it wasn't impossible to move on without him.
I'm interested to see how their offseason goes. How some of the veterans on defense feel with Tomlin moving on, and he's already started chopping coaches. He got the defensive line coach the last 8 years got fired. So,
the 150-year-old special team coach is with the Bucs now.
Yeah.
I think
wins a change in Pittsburgh, and that's a largely veteran roster. That's going to be interesting to see how that goes over. But Pete, and the defense should be tough. It should be still good. They have a good defense, right? And this whole thing, my whole thing with McCarthy is that he's going to do the same thing in Pittsburgh. He's going to raise the floor of the offense, And that's what I thought was, my hope was that he would come and do here, is just raise the floor of the offense, give you if in the Browns case, I feel like him walking in the building would have gotten us to a top 20 offense. But either way, if he can elevate Pittsburgh's offense to the middle of the pack, that's a problem, dude. Like that's frustrating. I like Pittsburgh in their little box where they don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback and all of their coaches are defensive and it's kind of old school and they run the ball and they play defense. They win ugly. I like that. I don't want Mike McCarthy giving them a good offense.
Well, the thing that's always the test for the Steelers, who are his assistants going to be? Because as you said, they let go of a few of them because the opportunities there, Steelers fans were done with Terrell Austin. They were done. So if they can get a really good coordinator, then all of a sudden you go, uh-oh, like that could be a problem. But is that going to happen, or are they going to get what the Steelers normally get because they don't pay a whole lot? They, and all these other elements. So we'll see. I think those hires are going to be really important. Are they going to pony up for an assistant pool? Maybe that could change things. If they get a better coordinator there, that could change things.
Let me interrupt real quick because the chat is talking about how long in the tooth the defense is. And don't get me wrong, okay? I know Jalen Ramsey's old.
Some of them
I know
are.
Cameron Hayward's old. I know TJ Watt is past his prime, so to speak. But they've got talent, man. Derek Harmon's good. Who's your boy from Wisconsin is the defensive lineman. I like him.
I like them. Yeah. They are rapidly inconsistent. Like Derek Harmon and Keanu Benton are very talented. But like every so often, you'll just like the Houston Texans just decided, no, you guys suck, and just ran them over. It's genuinely strange. Like Keanu Benton's the one where I was livid when that pick went in because Keanu Benton like checked all these boxes. And some of this may be simply a product of they have sort of grown into what they're going to be, and defensive line is tough. Defensive tackle in particular is tough.
Of course. And Harmon's a rookie too.
So I think that's a very real possibility. But like, it is weird how inconsistent those two have been.
No, I'm just trying to say, like, there's a good base of young talent on there too. Herbig, an outside linebacker.
Herbig is good.
I like Highsmith. Joey Porter Jr. is oh my God, I hate him, but he's good. Like, there's some talent there.
Presumably, this is also sending him, all of this is sending a message to Cam Hayward, please don't retire.
Yeah.
Which we'll see. That because if he's gone, that is massive for them. I suspect he will come back because he hates my life.
Yeah. And he's been a Brown killer his whole career.
He wants to just continue to torment me forever. But like, if he was to retire, like, that'd be a massive hole for him because he's still unbelievably good at his age. Like, he's, still like all pro quality players. So those are the questions they're going to have answer. Or, is TJ Watt going to bounce back? Unclear. Obviously had a very not TJ Watt season. He was fine. He was a good player. Not going to say he was like fell off or anything, but just wasn't a great
defensive player.
Some of that out of his own control since his doctors tried to murder him. So those are all elements that they have to get sorted out. And then, same other side of the ball, is the offensive line going to continue to get better, or can they get better coaching there that's going to help that group? Can Broderick Jones finally figure it out? Or are they going to go with the Dylan Cook kid, who was, okay down the stretch at left tackle? Those are areas they can get better. I think it's going to be tough for them since Jonnu Smith and the running back are probably going to try to get more eligibility and go play at Ohio State for another season to join their offensive coordinator, because apparently that's how it works now if I watch college basketball. So that's the other element. How much of that's going to change? Because like the other thing that Mike McCarthy does to me is it basically says, welcome back to the offense, Pat Freiermuth. I'm sorry we just basically pushed you off to the side for years, which made me happy because I think he's pretty good. Now, he may not be a great player, but he's a credible wide tight end and something to get. Obviously, they still have the other guy, a big man coming back, and what is that going to look like? What are they going to do with him? Yeah. Those are all questions that need to be answered. So I suspect they're just going to be the Steelers again. I think it will basically be the same.
Okay, that's fair enough. Let's talk about the games this weekend. How about the Super Bowl matchup? You like Seattle? You like New England? I got to lean Seattle personally.
I think Seattle is going to destroy the New England. I think and I will say this. I thought the NFC was just going to beat the brakes off whoever won the AFC. They are just better. Unless mistakes, and the Rams obviously made mistakes. Special teams, for example. It's amazing that they fired their special teams coordinator and things didn't magically fix themselves.
Yeah, that's usually how it works.
But I just thought the level of football being played in the NFC Championship was just degrees better than the AFC Championship. And that's nothing to take anything away from Drake May. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel's done a really good job. They've got good players. Seattle is a machine right now. They are really, really good. I thought the Rams had a shot. Obviously, they, it went down to the wire. But, like, unless Sam Darnold implodes, it's going to be really tough. And there's one area where I think the Patriots have an interesting matchup, which is the defensive tackle position. Could give the Seahawks problems. Because Milton Williams, after missing all that time, basically came back super fresh and very active and became a huge pain for them between him and Barmore. Like, that's the matchup I would say if the Patriots have a shot, that's where it's going to happen. Yeah. But everything else, man, Seattle is good. They're just terrific. And, like, John Schneider absolutely deserves Executive of the Year. I think that's a lock. I think his run is incredible. The fact that he's in the Super Bowl, first GM, I think, in NFL history to do this with, like, a different coach and basically a different complete roster, which is a testament to it. They did everything they did work. Basically, everything they did this offseason worked in a way that's, like, just remarkable. Every button they pressed just hit.
You think about it, they were able to go from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold, and they basically saved money and got a draft pick to do it. Like,
it was a move that was widely paid. I thought it was stupid too. I saw these people I thought all these people were dragging me into Kimes for saying that, like, the Seattle Seahawks are good. This was, like, everybody was saying this at the time. I certainly thought that would be true. And given what Sam Darnold's implosion and everything else, like, they did great. And obviously the DK Metcalf element as well.
Yeah. Difficult to project. People don't talk about that, man.
Difficult to project that Jackson Smith-Njigba would basically become the best receiver in football, but that's been such a huge element. Now, I don't hate that because it helps my argument of what I want to do, but which was my big takeaway from the NFC Championship.
How annoyed are you that your idea is gaining so much steam? He's getting a little too highly rated.
Nice little shout out from Daniel Jeremiah would be nice. I'm just saying he borrowed my comp and said,
"Well, hey, can we talk about that Jeremiah mock draft? How you feel about David Bailey at 6? It was a mock draft, and I wanted to fight.
I think a mock draft in January from Daniel Jeremiah is basically ranking players, which is strange because then he actually released a article that just ranks the players.
Yeah.
It's the greediest mock draft I could ever. Just say, we'll take David Bailey and then take Caden Proctor. Just extremely greedy. And nothing I think they will do. But, like, then he ranked the players, and it's a little bit different. But, yeah, basically, I understand what he's doing, but he's not diving into anything at this point. This is him not talking to anybody. This is him not doing anything. He probably doesn't know a whole lot about Alex Wright or Isaiah McGuire or any of these guys. Yeah. He just goes, hey, David Bailey's really good. He's right. David Bailey is really good. Now, there are better defensive.
The Browns could use defense.
Hey, listen, if they want to get greedy and take a defensive end, there are guys I can point them at and may still be inclined to take. But
I would love to see the fan base's reaction to them going defense at 6 and not Caleb Downs. I think that would be like the hell freezes over type deal.
Yeah, not only that, take another defensive lineman in the top 6 after taking Mason Graham last year, which obviously a very good player. But, like,
could you imagine if they named Schwartz head coach and then they go defense at 6?
I hope if that's the case, I hope Jim Schwartz walks out to the stage in Pittsburgh and goes, yeah, I'm doing this.
Oh, man.
But anyway, the NFC Championship to me was the Draft Mackay Lemon Bowl because JSN and Puka Nacua were outstanding, and just everything about that showed you why I think teams are not going to fret or shouldn't fret about the notion of, well, he's not ideal size, he's not ideal speed, or any of these other things, because neither of those guys. And JSN is a freaky agile player. He's a little bit bigger than Mackay Lemon in terms of height. Puka Nacua is a little bit bigger, but they play that, or at least can function in that amorphous slot position. Puka Nacua is a really good blocker. And so is Mackay Lemon, that you can run your offense out of that and give teams a lot of problems with condensed formations and different ways to utilize guys. And Mackay Lemon's perfect for that. And yes, Daniel Jeremiah used the same comp I did, which is said Amon-Ra St. Brown, that the comparisons are real, and there's reason to believe in that. So just watching that game and watching DBs being just like having no answer for that over and over and over again was like, yeah, this is what Mekhi Lemon does, and the Browns should absolutely lead the way with that. And then the other part about that whole thing with going back to Jeremiah, if you look at his rankings, he put Mekhi Lemon 7th. His first offensive lineman was 11th, and obviously this is fluid; it could change. His first offensive lineman was 11th, and it was a guard.
Yeah.
So like, just looking
Vega?
at yes, he put Vega at 11, and then I think Fano at 12. Mm-hmm. So if you're the Browns, one, you have to address offensive line in March. You can't sit there and wait and go, well, we're going to build it now. You can certainly add players that you can hopefully take over spots and win the job, but you can't go into April and not have a line, because then you put yourself in the situation where you were like the Cincinnati Bengals the year they took Price after the other center went to the Ragnow went to the Lions. You're just like, well, we need a center. We have to take one. So you took one right there. They have to come together with some sort of line. Now, add rookies to it. Hopefully they can win jobs. Hopefully they compete, and you get a really good, strong unit with depth. But going back to his rankings, he's got like 6 guys between like 11 and 32 or something like that. I think the chances are pretty good that the Browns are going to be able to get one of those guys. Obviously, they're going to evaluate these guys and come up with their own judgment, but like 24, there's going to be something there that's going to be worth taking. And I like some of the guys that I see ranked in that range. So like, I want to take a what I evaluate as a number one receiver, not only a number one receiver, the best in the class, but a guy where you're going to sit here and go, this is a target monster. I can feed him the ball over and over and over again because that's what he does. And then I have Jerry Jeudy, and I have Harold Fannin, and I have all these other guys that fill in around it that make it look better. And I'm not saying you have to be done at wide receiver, though that would be a hell of a place to start. But then you now are freed up to just go nuts and get lineman after lineman after lineman if that's what you want to do. Or if I start hearing about crappy linemen, I will threaten you with a couple defensive ends in the second and third round. So hopefully they will figure that out because there's some really good edge rushers in that class that should be really, really good value that could absolutely be really good for this unit.
So you're talking about an edge player at 39 then?
There's a guy.
So I got to be honest with you. I'm not particularly in the mood to start a draft argument already, Peter.
Listen, he's
don't you dare. Okay?
Listen, I'm just telling you, if you want me to get greedy, I can do it.
No, because I don't think you understand that DeJuan Jones.
Christ.
Now, okay, and I can appreciate your draft. Fennell's 12, and Monroe Freeling's in the mid. I don't care. We need offensive line. And
I agree.
If Spencer Fennell is good enough to go in the first half of the first round, he's good enough at 6 for me. Same thing with Mauano.
Did he die, or is that me? It looks like he died. Looks like he died mid-passionate argument again. The freeze frame is awesome. If I just cannot get behind the logic of, well, he's good enough to go in the middle of the first round, so we can take him at 6. Like, you're never happy with that. And we just watched that. Like, there were people who didn't like Mason Graham and thought they should just take the next guy at this other position. Well, you leave a lot on the table, and then you're ultimately dissatisfied if that guy doesn't pan out. And look, there's an element to that where you can hit big and you evaluate them, and even though I might think guys shouldn't be picked until the middle of the round, and he ultimately overperforms, great. But if you're just ranking players and you're saying I can have the best wide receiver versus a pretty good lineman, I'm going to take the best wide receiver. And there's multiple reasons for that. The first one being impact. Look, if I can get Penei Sewell, I'm going to do it. But I don't see Penei Sewell in this draft. So at that point, I'm looking at what amount to be pretty good linemen. And I need the Browns to find 5 pretty good linemen. What I don't I just need 5 pretty good linemen. But if I get a top receiver, that's going to outweigh a group of pretty good linemen. And for the most part, I'm kidding about 39, unless people screw around. Then I will get greedy. But no, look, my dream scenario is straight up to get a Mekhi Lemon, and if it's a Monroe Freeling at 24, and then another lineman at 39, and then potentially another lineman all the way down. Like, I don't care as far as that go. But what I don't want to get into the mindset of is, well, the Browns don't have a lineman because, one, they cannot, again, I cannot state this enough, they cannot wait until April to start doing this.
Yeah.
That's the part. They have to have a real line before.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing, though. The market doesn't always dictate that you can fill these holes.
Sure.
And we've talked about Rasheed Walker, right? But we don't know that he's going to.
I'm not interested. Like, I don't even need to do that.
Okay.
I'm not talking about getting Rasheed Walker.
You cannot say no to Rasheed Walker and then say, but we got to solve the problem before the draft. Do you know the tackles that are available in free agency?
No, what I'm saying, what I would have no problem with doing is saying Cam Robinson, stick around for another year. Yeah. And giving you a credible tackle, which then allows you to go and get to April and then take a Monroe Freeling at 24, for example, or a Blake Miller at 39 as an example, and then saying to those guys, go out and take his job. Like, at least that point, I have something there. And I need to cobble together a unit beforehand. And my dream would be
Cam walks, though, because we traded for Cam. He did not come here willingly. He is a free agent.
No, I agree. What I'm saying, but you could theoretically do that deal now.
No, of course. And I was on board when we traded for him. I would love to keep him. I don't know how realistic it is.
Well, I don't know how many options he has in terms of teams that are going to give him a job, as a starting job or starting salary, and you may pay him a little bit more. Like, you give him like $14 million for a year or whatever it ends up being. But at least at that point, you would knock out that element of it and not go, well, we don't have a left tackle. You would have a left tackle. Like, obviously, I'd like to sign Tyler Linderbaum and be able to have him sort of lead a group. But at least if I get the framework of 5 Cam Robinsons up front in some form or fashion, then I don't have to go in the draft and go, oh my God, we have to do this, because like, you cannot operate that way. Or theoretically you can for one spot. Yeah. But let's say you fall in love with Spencer Fano and Spencer Fano goes 5.
Yeah.
Then what? Like,
and not just that, we're not going to have 5 rookies starting on the line. We're not, that's just,
Right. So like, you have to have something in place. And that's the other reason where it's very easy for me to go Mekhi Lemon. Why? They're not going to get a number 1 receiver between now and the draft. Short of which I don't even know if you'd consider him a number 1. If you were to get like Brian Thomas Jr., you'd probably still say he's largely still really a number 2, even though he's an X.
He's a Cleveland one.
Well, he would, but like, that's the point, is like, you're not going to get that between now and April. So it becomes really easy. You go, well, I'm going to take a true number 1. I know that's going to be there. I'm going to take it. Now, unless somebody takes Mekhi Lemon before that, which theoretically possible, but unlikely. But at least at that point, you're not losing anything. Or you could just take Tate if you really want to. But nevertheless, that's the point.
Where are you at in this scenario? Say New York takes Mekhi Lemon at 5. Do you go offensive tackle at that point, or do you go Cornell Tate?
I'd probably take Tate.
Yeah.
This is the thing, is like, again, if I can get Penei Sewell, I'll take him. But unless I come to the conclusion that I think that guy's going to be there, I don't want to use the 6th pick in the draft on a pretty good lineman. Yeah. I want to use it on a potentially dominant impact player like receiver, and something they need anyway. It's not like it's not like I'm the Giants and I'm just going, well, I've got Malik Neighbors and I'm just really greedy, though I approve of that philosophy too. Yeah. I'm saying, like, we don't have this and we desperately need it. Everybody's complaining about, well, they don't have a receiving weapon. So like, if, as you pointed out, there's a world where the Browns can be very competitive if they hit, the offseason correctly with H.L. House, Jim Schwartz, whoever.
You got to surround your Pro Bowl quarterback with weapons, Pete.
Yes. Yeah, you absolutely do, which is why I will trade for Geno Smith. But nevertheless, if you were to cobble together the line we're talking about, you get 5, what amount to be 5 Cam Robinsons, and then you get Mekhi Lemon, and you have Jerry Jeudy and all these other things, and you continue to draft linemen to build behind it, to add depth, to sort of evolve into a unit over the time and just coach the hell out of it. Great. That's a good situation to be in. And you can make that. I think you can make that happen. Now, the challenge is going to be, can you get, the one big ticket item that I'd like to get, which is Tyler Linderbaum. I don't want that big ticket item to be Rasheed Walker. Certainly that could be a thing, but I don't love it. I don't love the idea of that big ticket item being Braden Smith, though I can see where that happens. But that's where I'm sort of Tyler Linderbaum to me is the premium guy. And normally you'd say, well, I don't want to pay centers that much. Well, okay, but I normally would agree. But what I'm proposing is that the way you build a line is that high center cost is going to be offset by getting reasonably costed veterans and then rookies behind it, so that you can sort of get this thing going and you won't be worried about overpaying a center, because as opposed to where the Browns were paying 5 premium linemen and 4 premium linemen, they're paying 1 or 2, and you can make it work that way.
Well, and another thing too about and I'm a big fan of Linderbaum. I would absolutely, he should be number 1 on the Browns board entering free agency. I feel like he's that level of a player. But the Browns are also, regardless of what you think about the quarterbacks we have on the roster now, okay, and I think we can all agree that there is a strong likelihood that Shedeur is going to be starting next year. But 2027 is the idea that most of us have to find a quarterback. And having a really, really, really good center is going to be a veteran center is going to be great for a young quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. That'd be true for whoever's playing quarterback. Either way, I'd love to. This is the thing. I can get used to this with Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski would take that off the quarterback's plate anyway. Yeah, he would make the center in control. But that's part of the reason I'd like to do that. Is one, I'd have to find out, is Tyler Linderbaum that guy? Is he just a really good player, or is he also the guy who's going to take control and lead the unit up front? Because that's part of my intrigue with him. Is I want him to lead this group of young guys that we're eventually, that we're trying to build around him. So we'll see. But yeah, that's sort of the situation. So yeah, I don't want to draft a pretty good lineman in the top 6. I want to draft a dominant receiver if I have the choice, because quarterback's not available for this draft. That's where I'm going, because again, if we're talking about leading this into 2027 for a quarterback, or if it's Geno Smith, or if it's Shedeur Sanders, or whoever, I just want to make that side of the ball better for them. I want to give them as much opportunity to be better as possible. And I think Mekhi Lemon does that, or is the start of doing that. But yeah, that's to me the best way to go about it, as opposed to, again, if you're telling me you get Penei Sewell, if you're telling me you get Joe Thomas, if you're telling me you get a really, really good player that's going to really set the line, great. But I don't expect that the guy they drafted 6 to play tackle is going to dramatically benefit the offense and make them better, or to make Shedeur Sanders better. Yeah. I need guys who are going to, I'm talking about trying to get somebody who's going to make them better. And to me, Mekhi Lemon is going to make them better.
Yeah. Well, and also, it's so hard, because you look at last year and everything was so bad up front last year. And I know that there's, numbers that the pass protection was way better than, it was thought of being, or any of that stuff. I don't know, man. I feel like the line struggled miserably at the point of attack. I don't know how much of that was a health thing. We had Posick and, Joel and Wyatt for the majority of the year. I just our lack of movement in the running game was mind blowing to me. It all started when Flacco, when he was done, because you remember those first couple games, man, Judkins was running roughshod through people, but it right about what's the 7th or 8th game, it just completely bottomed out.
I think that is partly because of the offensive line. I think that has more to do, and the fact that they were constantly just losing guys. I think it had more to do with defense. It's basically saying, we're not doing this. You're not going to do this to us. And Quinshon Judkins isn't going to beat us. And that's part of the reason, they have to fix the line. I cannot state this enough. They have to fix the line. But if they get a guy like a Mekhi Lemon, along with the other guys they have, That is one more guy they have to take seriously, that they can't theoretically just load up the box and be like, we're not going to allow Quinshon Judkins to beat him. Because if they do that, then they're going to lose to these other guys. And, Lemon is a guy who can go up and high point a ball. He can win a 50-50 ball. He can break a tackle. You do all those things, and suddenly, he's off the races. Yeah, or you get a quarterback who can get the ball to Jerry Jeudy on time, which also Lemon should help with. Then those guys are going to make more plays and open up the offense. The quarterback position's got to get better, and certainly the offensive line's got to get better. But more weapons would absolutely help. We see this with other teams. Seattle's line great. Not really. They have some pretty good pieces, but there are guys on that line where they're still going, we don't love this guy. And they, but they have enough weapons to cause people problems. Sam Darnold's always got somebody to get the ball to. Again, he's had JSN. That just makes it easy for him, and that's what I want to see. Some of this Shador's got. If it is Shador, he's got to be a quicker processor and see stuff faster. But I think this group is way more credible if you get a true number one, regardless of who you think that is. And Jerry Jeudy's 2, and Cedric Tillman is 3, and Harold Fannon's in there as basically 2/3, and you have Isaiah Bond, who becomes really
bring up Isaiah Bond. I feel like that's a dude who was open all year. And if you add a Mekhi Lemon and him, Jeudy, and Fannin working the intermediates and stuff, and then just him taking the top off, that's not bad. And it's real easy to crush the Browns receiving core because of the lack of production given the quarterback play the last couple of years. But there's talent there. There's legitimate NFL level talent, and I feel like the special wide receivers in the NFL, there's some special ones that are just a cut above everybody else. I feel like there's a cluster of guys that, if given the opportunity, could absolutely perform, can absolutely put up money. It's all circumstance and opportunity. And I feel like the Browns that receiving core would look way different with a number one and good quarterback play.
If, let's say, Mekhi Lemon is Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he's a guy who can get you 900 yards as a rookie and be a target monster and all these things. If Jerry Jeudy can just split the last 2 years in half, right down the middle, people would not be complaining about him all. Be 800-something yards and a whole bunch of touchdowns, and you have Harold Fannin and all these other things. You'd be really happy with that. And Harold Fannin, that's the thing. And that's why I modeled it after Detroit. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, the Browns would have their version of that, and Jerry Jeudy's just there as another guy where you're like, okay, now we're talking. If he can be your Jameson Williams, or Isaiah Bond can play a role in that, and you still have Cedric Tillman, all these, that's pretty good. It doesn't, you still may be looking, and I've said this all along. I have a theory of the case, which is basically you get a Mekhi Lemon this year, and then you come back next year and you're still doing the same thing. You're probably going to look for another receiver and just keep adding that way. But to me, that would fix so much for this and change everything. Get the best receiver in the draft. Put that in your offense and see how much that changes. But yeah, I mean, there's so much they need to do on that side of the ball, but there's most of the things they need to do, they can start to address in April or March. That's the one spot they can't address, or they won't likely be able to address unless it's in April. And unless it's at 6th pick. Unless you think somehow Concepcion's going to last to 24, I don't see how it's going to happen. I think I will not be surprised if it's 21 and they do it despite me. But to me, this draft has 4 number one receivers, and one of them has major injury questions, and the other 3 are going to go real fast.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we got Senior Bowl week this week. You got any Senior Bowl stuff for us? You got any names I should keep an eye on?
Oh, yes. With the 39th pick, you could take Gabe Jackus, the defensive end from Illinois, who's phenomenal. No, there's a bunch. But seriously, there are him and Dennis Sutton from Penn State.
Yeah.
If the Browns get greedy, those 2 are unbelievable football players in terms of profile and everything. And Sutton, who was obviously Abdul Carter's sidekick for a year, has more than come into his own over the course of that, and surprisingly weighed in 270. which is right in the Browns' wheelhouse. 6'5", 270, quick off the ball, and all these other things. Gabe Jacas is, I think, 270, 6'3" is a little bit short, but he's really, really good. And to put this in perspective, like you get into market share and all this other stuff, Jacas had 11 sacks for Illinois this year. The next highest number on their team, 2. Like, they know who it is, and they cannot deal with it. And he's doing well. But I presume you want to go other spots. The offensive line is kind of an interesting unit because there's a couple guys where I'm starting to see buzz build for these guys, and I sort of thought this was going to happen, and I just don't know where to place them. And one of them is Max Core from Arizona State. Yeah. And I don't know how to pronounce his last name yet.
Yeah.
Find out.
That's why I never bring him up.
But he is basically played football for 3 years.
Yeah.
And he is every bit of 6'6", 325. He's an incredibly gifted athlete. And he's been playing right tackle for Arizona State for the last 2 years. I saw Duffy, who covers the Eagles and does draft stuff, raise the possibility of him being a late first rounder, which is really high. But like he's got the body, and he might have the tools where those guys get talked about like that. And linemen go really, really fast.
Yeah,
and he's just a massive human being. Now, is he going to be too much of a project for the team like the Browns, especially if he's going that early? Maybe. But if he's a guy where you can get him in, at 39, and you've taken care of these other things, and you can bring him along, maybe he's your guy. Now, obviously, some of this will be dependent on what the new team head coach wants to do in terms of the style he wants to play and all those other things. Yeah. But those type of things are interesting. I want to see Cage Casey, the offensive tackle out of Boise State, in pads because he seems really, really good. And it's all with him is going to be, can he hold up against big boys and his overall strength, because he seems to be gifted enough. He's a guy who could raise his stock quite a bit as an offensive tackle. I haven't had a chance to watch much of it, but I'm curious to see what the Dartmouth kid can do. Delby Lemieux, he's most likely to kick inside, but is nevertheless interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of these big old SEC linemen where they're just huge, and I want to see what they do. The other one, sort of in that same mold, although he's Big Ten, is J.C. Davis.
Mm-hmm. That's an Illinois kid, right?
Yeah. Where do they think he's going to play? And what is that going to look like for him? Where's Jennings Dunker going to play? What is that going to look like? But
what do you think about Drew Shelton from Penn State? Because he strikes me as a kid who's going to be third or fourth round pick, but he's going to have a 10-year career. I like him. He's a clean player.
Possible. I mean, I know his teammates getting a bunch of buzz at the Shrine game. Nucci, who's like a tower. I don't have a whole lot on that kid, but the thing is with Penn State, you trust their strength program because they just churn out freak athletes.
Yeah.
So, for offensive line, where so much of this, for what I want to do is data driven, there's just so little on offensive linemen. So history suggests take the athletes.
Yeah.
And then 2, the rest of it is, can you coach them up and what's their tape look like? So instantly, if you're telling me that these 2 guys are going to test freakishly well, and we'll see, then all of a sudden they enter the conversation as far as guys that are interested. Now, the tight end that I really like that's part of this group is Sam Roush from Stanford. I'm very high on him. I was very happy to see the measured in almost 6'6", 260 as a true Y, which, enough with Mitch and his making the entire team out of F tight ends. Tell me on the idea of taking Kai Lemon, trying to make an offense out of Harold Fannin, Kenyon Sadiq, and Kai Lemon all on the field at the same time. Stop it. Just like matchup problems. Yeah, the matchup problem is for the offense.
The same matchup.
So yeah, that he's the guy who I absolutely love. He's super productive, and he's more productive than Sadiq. He's more productive than Max Clare. He was the second leading receiver on Stanford. There are questions with him. He will remind you of Steve Hayden in a lot of ways for people who are old enough to remember Steve Hayden, whose career was unfortunately shortened by injuries. But you know what he is. He's a timeless tight end, lines up on the line of scrimmage, can block people, and then just does stuff that like you see work in the NFL now. He just quick, easy check release or quick out, catch the ball, and rumble forward until he falls down.
And we've talked about it too. A true Y would open up Fannin for more of the move around stuff that he thrives in.
Well, and look, if the idea is we want to toughen up the line of scrimmage, I hope they retain Njoku, but I want to get something for the future. And to me, a guy like Roush does that. I think he's absolutely terrific. The other guy that sort of jumps out to me in terms of, guys that I think are interesting from a role is Jalen Kilgore, the big safety from South Carolina, because he's played all slot his entire career. He measured in 6 foot, basically 1 to 11. Plays at the same program that Nick Eamon came out of. He's not quite as big. I think Eamon Warrior was like 224.
He was 6'3",
he's a monster. He's a monster. Yeah. He's an absolute beast. But it won't surprise me. Kilgore's super productive. He had a ton of interceptions in his career. If he's, Kilgore is a guy who can change the dynamic of your defense and give you more options. You're dealing with so many tight ends in this division. If that's a guy that sort of helps you balance out the situation with Grant Delpit being the other guy, those guys are people that I think are really interesting. The other guy on defense, that's the last guy on defense that I'm sort of really intrigued by. I want to know if Hezekiah Massis wants to play safety, because he's a zone corner who just plays super smart. And he has a ton of on-ball production, and he does all these things. The thing you will be, wary of is he weighs like 180 pounds. But if you are the Browns and you sit there and go, listen, man, we just want you on all obvious passing downs and just go get the football. Okay. That was my idea with Travis Hunter anyway. As a defensive player. But you watch him play and you're like, his instincts and understanding of what teams are doing are really impressive. He is able to break on the ball really well. And then I saw today they do their speed testing stuff, and I think he was 19 and something change miles per hour. So I'll be curious. He's played nothing but zone corner. It's a very similar situation as Noel Williams last year at Cal. They play the same scheme, but and teams may love him as a corner, and maybe that's where he will end up. But if you're the Browns and you sit there and go, I like the fact that this guy has experience in doing man coverage stuff, or at least being able to man cover somebody. But I would love to be able to drop him into coverage and just say, go make plays on the football. He's really intriguing to me.
Well, I would like them to get a third safety who's more of a center fielder anyway. Yes. That's the one part of the defense that's just kind of not there. Delpit and Hickman are relatively similar players. They're both box guys, or at least better in the box. I would be down with that. Are there any safeties that kind of fit that profile that are going to be available this year? Most of my draft prep is on wide receiver and offensive line at the moment.
Well, specifically the Senior Bowl, there's some people like Kamari Ramsey. I think his profile is okay.
Who's that? The USC kid?
Yes. It doesn't do a whole lot for me.
Yeah.
In general, there's a lot of buzz around Genesis Smith, which is interesting. He's a true junior who's been pretty good. But I don't know if there's necessarily, a ton of guys who you sit there and go, man, this is sort of the ball hawking safety. I just don't think this class has a ton of those type of safeties. That's why I'm looking at a guy like Massis as a potential transition player. But, I'll see, as we get more information and some of these things, I'm curious to see if any of that changes, because obviously people will go Caleb Downs, and I'll tell you, continuously say to me, he's best suited to play slot, and maybe he can learn those other things and do what Kyle Hamilton's doing. But I don't know if there's a ton of great options for true ball hawking, center fielding safeties in this class, or if that's something the Browns can find somewhere in free agency to sort of add that dynamic, because that's obviously something they're missing quite a bit. So yeah, I would like to get somebody, if this, God forbid, the Browns actually play with leads and have an offense that makes, that scores points, and they put defenses in an obvious problem. They're third and long, and they have a guy who just goes, I'm going to go get the football with the pass rush they have, then that becomes really interesting and could potentially up their turnover element. And as far as somebody asked me about Kevin Coleman Jr. and Barian Brown, I'm aware of both of them. Kevin Coleman Jr. is an okay slot prospect. Barian Brown's production is minimal. I know he's a good athlete. He's been around the block in terms of Kentucky and LSU, but does nothing for me. And if I'm taking Mekhi Lemon, which hopefully I am, then I don't need a Barian Brown or Kevin Coleman, since those guys predominantly project to the slot. Like I said, Coleman's okay. Yeah. Barian Brown just hasn't done much.
Pete, with the way the NFL is as reactionary as it is, do you think the success Seattle's had with Nick Emmanwori is going to push Caleb Downs up even higher? Or do you think safety's kind of, that 8 to 15 range, like Hamilton went 14, Emmanwori dropped to the second round?
Well, I think Emmanwori may have an impact on Kilgore.
Okay. Because he's big. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's possible. I think Kyle Hamilton would have at least as much impact on Caleb Downs as anything.
Yeah.
I think my issue with all of these things is you have to have a home. And that's why I think home for Caleb Downs is a slot, because we get into this thing where like, well, this guy can play 17 different positions and you can do all this in Queen on the chessboard and everything else. And then you get them and they don't have a home and they don't do anything well. And we've seen that too many times. This is what happened with Isaiah Simmons coming out of Clemson. Everybody's like, oh man, I can do a million of different things with this. Or Deion Jordan coming out of Oregon. And neither of them could play because they didn't have a home. I think that's the key for Caleb Downs, is giving him a home and then saying, okay, you've locked down this spot. And obviously I think for a lot of teams, he's just going to be strong safety because that's what he is.
Yeah.
For slot, I specifically mean for the Browns, because they have a very good strong safety. But if you get that guy and he goes, oh, I can do all these other things, great. Then you get that after the fact and you go, man, this is great. But don't do that beforehand.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Mekhi Lemon. Yeah, I have no doubt he can play on the outside and do some matchup issues for that. But I need him to be really, really good at the slot first and those type of things. So I think people get ahead of themselves with some of these things. And I don't worry about Caleb Downs necessarily as a player. He's good.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing where I think expectations are going to play a big role. I think the expectations for Caleb Downs are going to be unrealistic.
Yeah.
Could be great. He could be outstanding. And I still think people are going to try to make him into something that I don't know that he can be, because obviously I've seen people compare him to Ed Reed. Ed Reed had 17 interceptions his last 2 years of college. He returned 4 of them for touchdowns. Caleb Downs had 6 interceptions in his college career. So that's not to take anything away from Caleb Downs. It's just Ed Reed was historic. And weirdly enough, went 19th.
Yeah. No, he went 22nd, Pete.
Oh, was that it? I knew
either,
it was
either 20 or 22. I'm pretty sure it was 22. And that was, because that was what? That was 2004, right?
Sounds right.
No, that was 2002, because we took William Green at 16. And then we took Andre Davis in the second round when we could have drafted Ed Reed at 16 and Clinton Portis in the second round. I don't want to talk about this, Pete. Let's move on.
God. Look, William Green was really good. The problem is he was carrying his entire family on every carry.
Everyone. You remember that Cincinnati game his rookie year where he was puking the whole time? Probably because he was hammered from the night before. That man had some demons, dude.
Yeah, I mean, that literally he was carrying all of them every carry. Demons, every carry. All of them coming along with him. Oh, the other guy I'm kind of curious about with the Senior Bowl is Davison Igbinosun.
Yeah.
I expected he was going to measure this big. He's legit 6'2".
Really?
He's a freaky athlete. And my nightmare is he's going to end up in Pittsburgh across from Joey Porter Jr. And they're just be like, yeah, we're going to hold you the entire game. And they're only going to call it so many times and we're going to win.
Yeah. Well, Pittsburgh does like to draft Buckeyes, so you might be onto something there. That would piss me off.
Well, it's just, he plays the same style that Joey Porter Jr. does. They're big, long corners. They're physical. And obviously people, Ohio State fans like got really annoyed because the dude would get penalties on him. And I'm just sort of like, okay. And he obviously reduced them quite a bit this past year, but like Joey Porter Jr. gets called for 1 million penalties and you're still going to take him all day. You'll live with them because they're 5 yards, move on to the next play. And then he's a good player. So that's, I suspect the Browns will re-sign Martin Emerson and basically hope he's going to recover and use that to sort of work it. But the other part with the Igbinosun thing, I have no idea where he's going to go.
Yeah,
I suspect he's going to go way higher than like Buckeye fans do because they will probably assume he goes in the 7th round because they don't like him or somewhere day 3. Yeah. Would not be shocked at all if he like ends up going in the 2nd round because you just cannot teach that size. And he may not work, but like his profile is pretty good.
Yeah, well, profile's pretty good. Big time school, big time moments. He's played on the biggest stages college football has. That's interesting. So, how about the running back position? Are there any mid to late round running backs that you have your eyes on? Because I mean, I know we have enough youth at the position, and maybe we take a free agent or something like that. Depending on how Quinshawn's recovery goes.
No, I have not looked at running back at all. Like, I mean, to the extent there are guys who I know are really good. Like, if you're going to try to tease me with a good time, Nick Singleton is that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, both.
Do you like Singleton? I hear tons of people hate on him because he's more of an athlete than a football player.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I will bear that brunt of.
So now I'm more of a Katron Allen guy. You prefer Singleton?
Just I get the issues with Singleton.
Yeah.
But it's like you take what they have in a little running back out of Tennessee last year and you just supersize him.
Yeah.
He's just because if you give him space, he's gone. He's so fast. And if he runs into somebody, they may fall over because he's big.
He's a big kid.
Like so there's no question that we've seen any number of these guys who super athlete running backs that just suck because they can't do the running back things. Nick Singleton's been really productive for a guy that people don't think is like good. So yeah, if you're gonna say, man, if you want to take a running back and potentially and get value on it, Nick Singleton's really good. And that's nothing against Katron Allen because I think Katron Allen can be really successful as well.
Yeah.
But I have the plow horse, the workhorse guy in Quinshon Judkins. I have a big body running back who will just fight for yardage in Raheem Sanders.
Yeah.
You're basically saying, if I want another back, take a freak show and hope for the best. So no, that's the one position where I've been like, we're good. And I can, I can actually not pay a ton of attention to it, which is to say that also running back is one where there are a lot of dynamics that work in the NFL that like don't necessarily all translate the same way from college. Like there are weird numbers that can work out that like suggest a guy should be a 3rd down running back. And there are numbers that suggest a guy should be a starting running back and all these other things. So there's a bunch of weird players throughout that you can sort of like, I think that's one of those positions you can always get value. And, as I said last year, I said the entire way, just draft 2 running backs on day 3 and the Browns took 1 at 36. So like, that's the other part. They're spent on running back.
Yeah, I can respect that. So Allen and Singleton, do you think those are day 3 guys? Do you think they're day 2 guys? I mean, it's so early. It's
hard to project. Like I fully expect Nick Singleton's going to run a 4.3.
Yeah,
he's that dude.
That's tough for him to get out of day 2.
But
that type of body and that type of skill.
I suspect Katron's going to be a round 3 guy at worst too. I don't think there's because it's not a great class. That's the other reason I haven't paid attention to running back a ton. It's not last year's class was really good.
Yeah.
Like say what you will about the Browns. And all these people are like, well, they shouldn't have taken 2 running backs. No, that was the class to take 2 running backs.
Yeah.
This is the class you don't. Because after you get past the 2 Notre Dame backs, it's not great.
Yeah, it's a fall. Yeah.
Which is why, I won't be surprised if we see, those two go weirdly high in terms of how they're drafted. Like there's those couple non-premium positions that could go weirdly high because teams are like, there's nothing there and we need to get this taken care of. And we want to be able to solve the issue. So we're going to take, Jeremiah Love at 9, for example, if the Chiefs want to go that route or something along those lines. Is that necessarily likely? No, but you could see where that would happen. I think Jeremiah Love is probably going to be more, loved as a prospect than last year with the kid from
Genty.
Yeah. Because he can do more in like the passing game and stuff like that. I think people are going to look at him as a more well-rounded back than Genty. And some of that's going to be a factor of because Genty struggled as a rookie. Not his fault, but I think some people are going to hold that against him.
Yeah, I could see that. And this just occurred to me, and this is slightly off topic. What's your take on Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer?
So I've heard two different takes on this. One of them is that Spygate is the driving force behind this, and Bill Polian specifically is a spiteful man in a way that I only respect. Admire even that he's that
that's my type of petty. I like that guy.
Listen, man, you want the rivalries never die. Bill Polian's your guy. And then listening to like a descriptor of how that process actually works, that like it's not like the Baseball Hall of Fame where it's not like you're voting against somebody or like everybody votes for, like, say, Bill Belichick and says yay or nay. The way it was described to me is you've got all these guys who are in there and you get either a vote or so many votes. And that basically the group was talented enough to sort of split that vote enough that Bill Belichick just fell short. Now, is some of that potentially a result of said Spygate?
Yeah.
Could be.
Well, I'll tell you, Polian has vehemently denied it.
I would too. Now he does not remember with certainty. According to Don Van Natta Jr., here's what he said. I was sure. Let's see. He does not remember with certainty whether he voted for Bill Belichick or not. Interview with ESPN on Tuesday night, Bill Polian denied telling fellow voters that Belichick should serve a 1-year penance for Spygate, but he said he heard his fellow voters float that idea, but he insisted he didn't agree or disagree with the proposal. Polian said he voted for Kraft and even spoke up on his behalf during the deliberation, saying Kraft had no knowledge of the Spygate scheme. I'm going to get back to that in a second. Polian added that he could not remember with 100% certainty if he voted for Belichick, saying he was 95% sure he voted for a coach and a player, most likely L.C. Greenwood. Quote, I was shocked to learn Bill didn't get in. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, unquote. Okay. I cannot stand voting owners into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It's masturbating. Yeah. It's straight up masturbating. Stop it. You own the team.
Yeah.
You do not need. Well, stop it. I'm not talking about guys who helped shape the foundation of the league.
You don't get credit for everybody else's stuff.
I'm not talking about like Paul Brown and like Al Davis and some of these guys like forging the league. I'm talking about guy who's worth billions and billions of dollars who may be good at his job, but like, come on, man. Like, your name is on the building. You don't need to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, I'm sorry. That is what that is. It is being publicly jacked off by everybody else and not being satisfied with that. But like, can we stop with this? I hate this idea of the owner. Nobody wants to go to the Hall of Fame and look at the owners. No. Like, are you?
Nobody wants to see that speech. What is that speech even going to be?
What, like, do you want to go to do you need to go to the Hall of Fame to see Bob Kraft's bust? Like, are you all the great memories of Bob Kraft you watched, bouncing your grandkid on your knee, going, man, all those stories about Bob Kraft allegedly, being caught in certain places he shouldn't be, and all this other.
Yeah. The only story we remember about Kraft isn't getting him in the Hall, buddy.
I cannot stand Jerry Jones doesn't need to be in the Hall of Fame, and Jerry Jones, you can make an argument that he raised the value of the league and all these other. Stop it. I want to go to the Hall of Fame and look at players. I want to look at relive players and memories from that stuff. I want to coaches. Fine, even that is getting a little bit overdone. But owners, you didn't do anything. Yeah. Come on, I don't need is there gonna be a montage of lit up Bob Kraft holding up the trophy when you can see how absolutely blaringly red-faced he is because he's plastered? This, it's just enough. Enough with the owner. You have everything. You don't need the Hall of Fame to do it. The Saints owner put his name on the damn field. We can't even have Fawcett Stadium anymore. It's got to be Benson Field. That's how insane this is. You have enough. You don't need to be in the Hall of Fame too. And so the idea, if this is true, that the reason Bill Belichick is not going to the Hall of Fame is because potentially Bill Polian and other people voted for Bob Kraft instead of voting for Bill Belichick is a travesty and illustrates my point better than anything else could.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And the fact that Bob Kraft is getting in for his number one move was probably hiring Bill Belichick. So how is that the move that gets him into the Hall? And then Belichick doesn't.
Are we gonna get under earth video where he's like, "You guys got to take that Tom Brady guy. I've got to come on." Stop it.
You can do anything with AI. I wouldn't put it past them, Pete.
It's just silly, man. I cannot. All the people are we got to get Pat Bowlen into the Hall of Fame. For what? Unless you're in Denver, you don't. Unless you're in Denver, you don't know who he is.
Yeah. Well, just a heads up for you, Denver Bronco fans refer to him as Mr. Bowlen. I've seen how ferociously they defend that man, and we have to get him in the Hall of Fame. It's just for what? And if you want to say, well, it's because of all this charity and other stuff, that's not what it's for. This is not. That's not the NFL Hall of Fame.
Or whatever. But the owners going to the Hall of Fame just needs to end. And the problem is that the thing is already open, and it's going to keep happening. But it is a waste of votes that should be going for guys who actually played football. Joe Bitonio should be in the Hall of Fame, and he's probably never going to get in. And it's going to be so we can put other guys who didn't do anything on the football field in there. That. It's just incredibly silly and just a disservice to the game and real history that should be actually being awarded.
I agree. They should take a page out of the Pro Bowls book to know how you honor the tradition and
True.
all of that stuff.
True. Listen, I'm not gonna bash George Sanders. He didn't do anything.
No, of course not. Well, it's no different than Tyler Huntley a few years ago. It is what it is.
No, this all started in one magical year. The year was 2007. Derek Anderson and Vince Young went to the Pro Bowl. And at that point, I was like, and we're done. It's done. Done. It's whatever. I got nothing against him. I hope he gets something positive out of it.
Yeah.
Great. Cool for him. I have nothing. I'm not going to watch it because I don't care. I never watch the Pro Bowl. To me, it's fake football and everything else. And it's a product
it's not even the Pro Bowl anymore. It's flag football. It's flag football and games, little competitions.
I know the Pro Bowl games, and Myles Garrett is retired, thankfully, from it. But you play 17 games in the regular season, and owners want to make an 18th game, and then you're like, well, you should do the Pro Bowl. Stop it. And I know they're going to keep doing it because people tune in. Tune in. I would love nothing more, and I wouldn't watch it, but have them play golf or something. I don't care, or play video games. I don't care.
Personally, Pete, I think it should be. Look, these are NFL players. It should be mandated in the. It should be mandated in the collective bargaining agreement. It should be a part of the thing. All right, nobody should have to play anything serious. It should be low key, all that stuff. But fly these guys out, give them a 3-day vacation, and just make them be present. if they're present and they just like make it a vacation. That's all you got to do. Do it after the season. The in between the Super Bowl thing is so dumb. Just like I don't know.
They should have they should make them debate. They should have all the Pro Bowlers debate. Just have debate club. Like this, it's silly. Like I understand the NFL sort of wants to come up with a way to like showcase these guys, but like honestly, you could do a thing like what you're talking about, where it is a resort type situation, and like the resort is for the players, but they have things where they like do televised things where they talk, or mostly go there and sign autographs and take pictures with fans and whatever. But like their time is their time, and people would still watch it because it's the NFL and they will watch anything. But they eliminate the game notion of it, and just move on. But like they're not going to do that. Nothing against Drew Sanders. Again, I hope nothing more than to him to have something come positive out of it. He's going to have access to a whole lot of people. I hope he picks their brains and they, the people there aren't like, shunning him because of the situation. He's the reason he's there. Yeah. But like, that's as far as it goes for me. I don't care. I like, and this is why I don't, and people will use this and go, well, so-and-so hasn't picked enough Pro Bowl players. And I will sit here and go, it doesn't mean anything to me, because there are guys who deserve to be in the Pro Bowl who don't go. And there are guys who do. Like Grant Delpit, to me, should be a multiple-time Pro Bowler at this point, and he's not. He's not been to the Pro Bowl. He's clearly a Pro Bowl player this year, and I think 2023 he was a Pro Bowl player, and he hasn't gone to either one, and that's just how it goes. And then the way they do the Pro Bowl games is linemen don't get reserves. That's it. You're done, which is okay, but like weird when you send everybody else to the Pro Bowl with 17 alternates.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, but look, they've been trying to figure out what to do with it, just the same way that baseball does and the NBA does. Like it's a dying thing, These guys are too valuable to throw out into a competition and like make them play football. Like you can't.
Football's different. Hockey guys still take it seriously as hell. Hockey guys are relentless.
Hockey guys are different.
Listen, the NBA All-Star game used to be fun. Like when Allen Iverson got mad and played, like it used to be BS for 3 quarters and then got very seriously. Like when Allen Iverson tried to get
it all ended when Kobe retired. Kobe was the last angry son of a bitch that was ready to fight anybody anytime.
I appreciated it when they had these sort of BS for 3 quarters and then get really after it when like guys started getting mad at each other and being like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. But now it's unwatchable. If you like the home run derby, fine. Like that's at least a fun event theoretically in terms of what it's asking you to do. But like over the All-Star game's not bad, but they came up with weird rules for it. But like the Pro Bowl is the one that's stupid. It made sense in a world where you played 12 games, or you played 14 games, or less, or way back when the Browns won the championship and they played an All-Star team, because these guys were like, yeah, I'll do it for another paycheck. Yeah, this is not the world we live in anymore, and the investments are too big in these players and any potential risk. Let alone like a Robert Edwards situation. The dude loses. I was just going to bring that up. Sand volleyball or sand football or whatever. It's just silliness. So, yeah, it's fine for what. If people enjoy it, great. It's just not for me.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. So that's about going to do it for our 2 hours. Thank you guys for sticking with us. Always a pleasure. I wish we would have had some breaking news and we could have told you that. We announced our head coach. We came to an agreement, but we did not. Pete, what's your guess, man? In the next 24 hours, are we going to see a head coach get named? Do you think it's time?
Yes. Tomorrow, I think, is the day.
And do you have a guess? Are you
Sure, I'll say Shieldhouse and be wrong. But no, I'll guess it's going to be Shieldhouse. My suspicion is the longer this is taking, my complete gut reaction to this based on absolutely nothing, the longer this takes, the better this seems like it's going to be to negotiate a situation for somebody not in the organization to be the head coach. That's just my gut reaction. I think it would be faster if they were just like, nope, we like Jim Schwartz. Here we go.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. I feel like if it were Schwartz, it would be wrapped up at this point. The one negative to that thought process is that if they name Schwartz tomorrow, something went wrong. Like what happened?
That will absolutely be the feel. That's the undeniable reality. Even if they've really come to the decision that Schwartz was their guy all along, there's no way to get around the fact that it's going to feel like that was either one of two things. Either they settled for it, or Jimmy Haslam said, "Screw this, I'm hiring Jim Schwartz."
Well, either way, for sticking with us, all 1,715 of you. Thank you so much for the OBR streaming network for having us. Thank you to OBR.com for being phenomenal. And guys, check out OBR.com. The off season is the absolute